Hey everybody, it's me, Joel McHale. You're watching Rob Sprance and Lori Levining. I don't know, Lori Kim. They have a podcast called The Hole. I've never heard of it, but I'd like you to watch it. And Rob, thanks for having your studio in like all black light, like Jay in 1985 at a skate camp or something.
Is it confusing you? I can go to normal lights, but you know.
No. It looks like you're at an esthetician's place right now. Good. Looks like you're doing some dermabrasion.
Well, I'm glad I'm already recording. We might as well just dive right into this.
Welcome to
So one other thing too, from time to time, the camera's going to change like this. You're probably going to be front and center.
Rob, I don't give a shit. My lord, how many of your guests are like spooked by this stuff? Like,
90%. 90%, I'd say.
What are you doing? How did I get small and you're big? Why?
You'd be very surprised.
How did you do that? Oh, okay. Here
All
we
right.
go. And action.
Welcome to the Hall. I am Rob Sprance.
And I'm Lori Levine.
And we have with us the desk of Joel McHale. There he is. Joel, I'm really happy that you're joining us. Our guest this week puts the beef in celebrity beef. I tell you, Joel, you know, in looking at all of this stuff, and I'm a big Community fan for a long time and a bit of fan of yours for a long time. And one of the things that I'm just going to do a little segment of ass kissing, just a short one here. But
it doesn't have to be little, my friend. Let it fly. I'm an actor. That's my lifeblood is compliments.
Well, in that case, one of the things that I noticed throughout, you know, your entire body of work here, whether you're hosting a game show, whether you're doing your stand-up, whether you're in a show, your personality comes out every time. There is something that you have that a lot of people do not, and the fact that, you know, there's that Joel McHale essence to it. And in watching Celebrity Beef specifically, it's very, very funny the way that it just seems like you're just making a parody of all of these cooking shows and the ludicrous things that happen in these cooking shows. Is that kind of what your goal was when you had this idea?
I signed on to that show before I knew what it was, and
you went out.
It's partially true. Rob, I felt like the compliments could have been a little more, but
there's more coming. I don't want to bury the lead.
Yeah, between the executive producers and the company that made it and they were all. They were like, "We're gonna have a cooking show, and you can do whatever you want to do," which was incredibly stupid of them, but brave. And they allowed me to screw around, which was very nice of them, especially after having been. Well, at least at the tail end of my time on the Soup on E, the administration was like, "Can you please stop making fun of the network?" And I was like,
I know
it's going to end poorly. And so they were so cool, and they were like, "Do whatever you want." And then I work with these two writers, Boyd Vico and Brad Stevens, who make me look a lot smarter than I am. And then, you know, the executive producers and director all were really cool. So I really just wanted it to be some celebrities and me screwing around, and we happened to cook, and we also had a dream team of the people that set up the kitchens and all that stuff. It was very weird because at E traditionally you can't spell cheap without E, and they went all out, and it was really fun. I have no idea if it's coming back or they're going to make another season. I don't know if it's failing or not, but it was really fun, and they were great, and it was a fun way to return to E, and I don't know, maybe that'll be it. I don't know. It's a good question.
So just to be clear on this, you're saying that yes, the cameras change. You okay, Joel?
Wait, Lori gets nothing?
But keep me little.
There you go.
Wait, do a camera switch again to yourself. Make yourself large again.
All right, you ready?
3, 2. Okay, now go back out. Now go to Lori.
Okay, go.
It just is crazy.
I know. It's amazing how technology works.
Wait, where are you? Are you guys in New York?
Yes. Mm-hmm. That's correct.
All right.
Yeah, so
all right. Well, then that's all the questions I have.
All right, for now. Well, what I was going to say is, you just basically said that towards the end, E was saying, please stop making fun of the network. And you do make fun of E again on the news show. So, some traditions just don't die.
Yeah, I mean, it was not, yeah. I mean, the last administration at E basically said, don't make fun of the network. Don't make fun of the Kardashians. And I learned in the 90s, well, I guess in the 80s when Letterman came on, if you can't bite the hand that feeds you, because they're in a position of power and you're in a position of power, if you can't make fun of yourself, then forget it. You can't do you won't be able to proceed with a show like that. And so I was like, oh, well, this'll be the end. And it was. So yeah, but they literally said when they asked if I wanted to return to E, they were like, hey, everyone who was here when you were here has been fired. And I was like, including me. So great, let's do it. So who knows?
So, for those of you who haven't seen it, you can watch Celebrity Beef Tuesdays, 10 p.m. on E. I think there's about 5 that have aired so far. And one of the things that I was completely surprised about was the concept is not you're cooking beef all the time. The concept is it's two people who have a previous beef in life, one way or another. You have people from Big Brother that were beefing. You have people from Bachelor that were beefing. And they do it with a cook-off where, let's face it, the food's irrelevant. It's a vehicle for Joel to be Joel, and rightfully so in many ways.
Well, and for them to, have a light argument.
Right. Yeah. So I was curious are there any known beefs that you really wanted to have two people on that you were trying to get and couldn't? Is there you have a dream beef?
I mean,
a dream beef.
No, there's no dream beefs, but that's a good name for a spin-off show. But no, the arguments are all very light, right? The folks from Daily Pop going like Lonnie Love, what's his name? Sylvester, I'm gonna get his name wrong, but he takes photos and videos of her before she's put her makeup on and puts it on TikTok. So that's the level of beef. If it was a thing where you killed my cousin, then it would be really not fun. And it would,
but the ratings, Joel.
Yeah, but if they came in and argued about politics or really just something no fun, it would be no fun. And so it always has to be something light and stupid and an argument that you get into after 3 glasses of wine at a party where what are we even arguing about? So that's how I wanted it to come off. And I think we're going to win a Peabody.
It's possible. So I guess it's safe to say then there won't be a Crips versus Bloods celebrity beef happening anytime soon.
Strangely, there is.
Oh, yeah. Are you serious?
Or Ron DeSantis and Dr. Fauci.
Yeah. So, I mean, it would be very good for ratings, but I would have them argue about something that has nothing to do with the pandemic or politics. I don't know. I'd have them argue about, which is the, best Godfather film, 1 or 2, obviously not 3, but 1 or 2. So something like that.
Yeah, well, if for those of you who haven't seen it, you really need to, because it really does look like Joel just built a set so he can make fun of people. That's really how funny it actually is. It's almost Rupert Pumpkin-esque. You have it set up in your basement.
I pass this down to my kids. Kids, this is what got you through college. Your dad ridiculing in a lighthearted way. There you go. And I got to eat some cannoli. It was great.
Well, what you also got to be, and the fact that you're actually on 2 shows that just launched at the same time is super cool. That's another compliment. You have to put that in the compliment column.
It's 3 shows, but
it's 3. All right. Well, I'm going to go to the second one, which is
4 technically. But
Well, what am I missing? Stargirl was the next one I was going to bring up.
Stargirl launches today. Whenever this airs, is this live?
No, the first episode will be out. When you're watching this, one episode will be out.
All right, yeah. So that would have launched last week. Yeah, that launches, well, technically today, and then, every Wednesday.
So you get,
and then, that was super fun and I got to be a superhero, and it was a dream come true. And I mean, it really was. I know that you hear that from people all the time, but I was like, I've always wanted to be a superhero, and I got to be.
yeah, and you have a nice, powerful staff, and but there's also, again, like, this is one where, yes, your essence is there, but there's some serious scenes in this show. You're not just goofing around, just riffing. Like, it's a whole different story, and it kind of made me wonder. And I did a little research on it. It seems like you come from sketch comedy, or improv, which kind of seems like most of the people, the actors we have on, come from that realm. Did you take a lot of acting classes and a lot of school? Because you could have gone on just a stand-up trajectory, you could have gone on different ones, but you kind of have a little of everything.
Well, when you live a life of out loud desperation, you never say no. Everyone's like quiet desperation. I'm like, mine is definitely not quiet. It is right there. Well, no, I mean, if you had done a little more research, Rob Strantz, or however you say it, I went to graduate school for acting. So, which was all serious. A lot of it was serious acting, and a lot of plays, a lot of weird shows. And so I got basically 3 years of just intense acting training there, which I needed terribly because I was not a good actor. And so it was a mix of sketch and improvising. And then I really did hit it hard for plays and stuff like that, and then moved down here. So I didn't start doing stand-up until 2004 in a real earnest way. So I kind of backed into it because I started doing it after The Soup was on the air, because people started to know me, and I had an agent go, "You're going to make a lot of money if you go out." I'm like, "Yeah, but I don't do that." And they were like, "Just invite your friends and then just do jokes in between." I'm like, "Okay, great." And so that's kind of how that came together. So yeah, I've always been like, why would I have to make a choice? Why do I have to go, oh, you're a dramatic actor, you're a comedic actor? Obviously I've done more comedy than I have drama, but boy, I do enjoy it. But I'm not going to be one of those guys that I'm like, I'm turning to drama for the rest, doing that.
Just
why? I have, whenever I looked at someone like Robin Williams or like Steve Martin or someone like that, who did, you just didn't allow them to be put into a box. Jamie Foxx is also a great example of somebody that can do almost anything. So I'm like, that's a good model for me. I'll just keep doing that.
Yeah. And you've also done hosting of shows, of game shows. You had Card Sharks and again, they all
Kitchen on Fox.
That's right.
Coming back this winter.
So that's another one. So that's 3 now. So I have to figure out what the 4th one is that you're referring to.
The 4th one's a sleeper, but you'll see.
Okay, no problem. But you also, you mentioned doing that stand-up. You still do it to this day. Like, you have dates coming up, this month, next month, and you can go to joelmchale.com for all things Joel McHale. But most importantly, it has the dates on there. I did notice, and we'll get into Community in a bit, but I did notice that you adopted Ken Jeong after doing that. Like, you do a lot of shows with him. You've done podcasts with him. You can't seem to shake that guy.
Oh, well, he adopted me. He's way more famous and has more money. So, he's become a very close friend since 2009 when Community started. And we, especially during the pandemic, started kind of screwing around with the podcast. And then we both got super busy. I think he was even busier than me, which I'm a workaholic. So that kind of faded, sadly. But now we're doing stand-up shows. So it's kind of like... it's going to be some stand-up, but a lot of screwing around with us together on stage. And so that will be really fun, or a horrible disaster. We always like to
Well, you guys together hosted the New Year's Eve show, which was instantly became my choice to go to because I knew that you guys were going to kind of go for it. And which you did. You're taking shots at Seacrest and all the things I hoped to get from from that.
We're doing it again, so we can actually scream at him this time from Times Square. all the hosts are lined up together, so we can hopefully screw around even more.
That's awesome. So you guys, like, how much prep goes into that versus? Because a lot of times, I mean, you've got hours to fill. You can't really write stuff, or you can come up with ideas, but at the end of the day, it's going to rely on the two of you on the fly. And you happen to be not only funny in stand-up, but you are very funny on the fly too. Celebrity Beef is proof of that. I know those aren't scripted lines they're coming out of you. They're just very funny.
This is all the compliments I was looking for.
Exactly. I told you by the time it was over, you'd have them all.
See, yeah, no, it is hard. It is 3 hours. When it's live television like that, I'm sure it flies by like it's 10 minutes, and it's really crazy. But everything is like, we have all the interviews set up, and then there's the musical acts, and then there's the interstitial stuff where we have to read stuff that's coming up, and so we make sure that's all well written. Again, we work with a number of writers that we love, including my friends Boyd and Brad, and so all that stuff gets kind of planned out, and then when the camera rolls, then it's like, okay, so you've got a plan, and but it's live, so you better be ready to throw it away, and that's as Stuart Scott used to say on ESPN, as Kenny Mayne told me. Before every time they would go do, a Sports Center Live, he would just say, "Let's get stupid," and that's one of my favorite things I've ever heard in my life. God rest his soul, Stuart Scott. What a genius.
Well, on that note, and preparing for things, and having a lot of eyes on you, that kind of brings me to a bit of a deep cut here. But I need to commend you on your White House Correspondents' dinner.
I was just going to say, that was one of my favorite Joel McHale moments ever, because I'm from Jersey originally, and that Chris Christie joke that I've stolen from you and claimed as my own to my family, where Joel says, like, tells Chris Christie to buckle up, and then he goes, "And for you, that's an extender buckle up."
Yeah. I don't know if I could get away with that joke now, but
I know things have changed in that.
But I'm still like, I'd probably tell it.
Yeah, he was probably.
Boy, he was a good sport.
Yeah, he seemed like it, but that made me think though, like, are you nervous for something like that? Because you don't know. Look, every year it happens. I understand there's a tradition, and I can only imagine what didn't make the cut because, well, maybe that's a little too far. Or, I mean, is it the same thing? I'm just going to go for it. Like, I have no choice. I might as well just do this because I could see there's a couple of times where I don't know if you just did it like to calm things down where you're like, yeah, that was bad. You just kind of, which wasn't written. But so, do you get nervous for something like that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I have never been more nervous in my life before that. I kind of blew out my fuse for being nervous. So like with the toast and roast, I wasn't nervous at all. It was like those things were, I get nervous for like reading a poem at a wedding because I was like, this is a wedding. This is important. And so no, I don't really, even for stand up, I don't even think about it. I just kind of like, all right, I'm gonna see how these jokes go. But I was so nervous before that. I was kind of I was like, well, I might have a heart attack before this, so that'll definitely change the day for me. And then you sit there because Obama went before, and he's an amazing joke teller. No matter what your politics are, that guy, he got ready for that thing. Mm-hmm. And so not only does he get up there and he's the president and he kills, then because of topics that are similar, just like any late night shows have crossover on topics they're talking about, like for whatever, like Orange is the New Black was the really popular show at that point, and he told a bunch of jokes on that, and I had a bunch of those, and I just threw them out. And so I kept throwing out jokes that I was like, I wasn't going to double up. And I've never been more prepared for anything in my life. I could almost have told you that 16 or 18 minutes out loud without even looking at the paper. And then you're fighting, because if you tell a joke that's too edgy, then everyone gets real like, ooh, they have to say that because like, oh, I have to look like I'm worried that was too edgy. And when you tell a joke about the Republicans, the Democrats laugh. Right. They don't laugh too much, and then the vice versa is true. So then it's a really weird dynamic in the room. And then you look out, and the first like the first rows is all the most famous people you've ever seen. So it looks like a wax museum of famous people. And it's like, oh, there's Andrew Luck, there's Robert De Niro, there's the Dos Equis guy, that old guy. And so it was very strange. And boy, was I relieved. I've never been more relieved in my life. I drank a glass of red wine about as fast as I've ever had one after that. It was crazy. It was so much fun. And I know that, boy, this is a divided nation now as we are, but when Trump canceled basically that dinner, because that guy, no matter what your politics are, he does not like jokes being told about him. And I thought it showed the ultimate power and the ultimate coolness in our leader that you could, to their faces, make fun of them. And they're like, that was good, thanks. In other countries, you would be put into a work camp. At best. And but Trump couldn't take a joke, which was, and I don't care. I'm sure there's Trump supporters that follow this, and I'm not saying anything political, but I'm just saying, like, you got to be able to take a joke. It's part of the deal.
For sure. I mean, we're talking about probably the coolest president in the history of presidents that you're roasting, and there's a couple in there. You're looking right at them. And that moment you look before you make a Guantanamo Bay joke, is there a little voice on your shoulder saying, what the fuck are you doing?
My goal was to offend everyone. And I think we spread that out relatively even. And when I told the drone joke, he did not like it at all. But I was like, you have to have a mixture of light and fluffy and jokes you can all get behind, and then a couple that get in there. And and I think that was. I'm always like, in my thing, it was like, you're only going to do this once, and you're probably not going to go to prison. So then might as well go for it. And I would rather have it been memorable than you're like, oh, he did impressions and they were all very lighthearted and nobody cared. That would be horrible.
Yeah, it's a good point. It kind of puts yourself on the map in a lot of ways too. It's a lot of people who weren't aware of who you were definitely became aware of who you were at that moment. Now, when you saw him afterwards, did you give him like a, hey, hope, I'm sure it was very complimentary and nice, but did you give him that little caveat like, hey, hope you don't mind?
So here's the thing about it. He's very competitive. And that's obviously one of the reasons why he became president, because you must be competitive. You must want it. And so he wants to win, the jokes. He wants to kill there too. And so afterwards, he just goes like, that was good. That was really good. And I'm like, okay. And then Michelle Obama forgot her purse. And so they walked out and I was like, well, there's Michelle's purse. I guess I will give her purse back. And he was like, oh, thank you for that too. And then he was like, come by the house sometime.
It's like you just swing by.
Yeah. I was like, hey, I've made some lemon bars. You want some?
Yeah. Like, how would you even do that? Like, who do you call afterwards? He did say I should come to that.
Yeah. I mean, I told my publicist that they had said that. And so I he was like, well, call him. And I was like, yeah, you're right. I should. I never did, because what am I going to do?
I know. I wouldn't have either.
I don't know what to do. It's just like, can I see
But
the movie theater again?
Didn't the Seahawks win the Super Bowl that year? That's your team. You should have like carpooled all of you guys.
They hadn't won that. It was the following year.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was the following year.
I'm trying to make it work here.
Yeah, but Russell Wilson was there, and that was the first time I had met him. I think the first time I officially was like, oh, hi. Maybe it was 2 years later they won. Yeah, he was like, I don't know, 22 or something. And now he's still on the Seahawks. Oh, no.
Nope. And
we'll be fine. We'll be fine.
Well, I'm not gonna. I think Seahawks fans absolutely despise my team, so I might wait to tell you that I'm a Steelers fan.
Rob's a Steelers fan.
Yeah, I'm a Steelers fan. So
that was the fault of the refs. And
okay, I'm gonna let that go.
I say that because the ref who made those calls literally wrote a letter saying I screwed up. And he was like, it's been weighing on me. So I know it's easy to blame the officials for every single play, but in that case, that dude was like, I fucked up.
Yeah, no, I hear you. But I was always curious about that. That had to be one of the most nerve-wracking moments ever. But when it's done, then there's that euphoria that you get. Holy shit, I pulled it off.
Cool.
You notice anything different afterwards? You get a lot of attention. You notice any changes? Like, because you always think, that was the one that Joel really put himself on the map with that. Like, do things change after that? I mean, I know you're already in the midst of Community at the time. You were doing the show then, right?
Yeah, boy, it's strange because it got me with a certain group of people. It definitely changed, but there's a whole gigantic number of people that don't watch that.
Yeah.
And that don't care. And so it's weird. Like there was a time when like people will come to my stand-up shows and it'll be for people who are Community fans. And then older folks, like 10 years older for old Soup fans. And then like a lot of people have no idea who that thing. It happens all the time. They're like, are you the host of Wipeout? I'm like, no. And so it's a real strange potpourri of other people. Then they're like, oh, I watched you on The Masked Singer. That's why I came to this show. Why I came to your stand-up show. And I was like, oh, I've only, I guessed once a season maybe on that. And it's super fun and I love doing it. But it's funny to see what people respond to. I mean, I did a show for CBS called The Great Indoors, which was on one season. And that was in 2016, 17. And that's one of those things where like people still like if 10 people will be like, The Great Indoors, they'll scream it. I was like, I haven't even seen it. So you'd think that I thought that the White House Correspondent stand would be this gigantic. I was like, I can't believe I'm doing this. It's strange though, because it wasn't as, like it's for the political crowd. I could not have been happier, and they were, all in that. But I think the biggest response biggest single response I ever got was hosting the after show of Tiger King. That my friend literally was like, he was like, you're trending on Twitter worldwide, and that had never happened. And I mean, because people hated me because I had the audacity to say that Joe Exotic was a criminal. I mean, he literally was in jail at that point for his 25 felonies. But they were like, yeah, you can't make fun of him. I'm only allowed to make fun of him. So it's a very weird time. And I've also noticed that like when the Soup and Community went off the air, like I basically was kind of invisible for a little while. And I was like, oh, so this is what it feels like when you're not on something that is happening that people are watching. And so it's gone like, it's like Neil Patrick Harris said, someone gave him this advice. He goes, it's like surfing where you just think, oh, maybe this wave will carry me into the shore, or it's just going to dump me and then I'll just swim back out again. And I mean, I love acting and I love performing. And my whole thing is to just, not have the real job police ever come take me away. And so hopefully I've saved enough money for that never to happen. But so that's a very long answer, but it's a very bizarre. And now I'm old. Now I'm like 50, and I'm working with all the Stargirl kids, and they're all in their early 20s. I'm like, oh yeah, now I'm the old guy. This is great.
Yeah, but look, I was shocked to see that you were 50, not for nothing, because you don't even remotely look 50. Like, I'm 52.
48, right?
I look 52. Yeah, but look, you are one of the most attractive guests we have on here, with Matthew McConaughey and maybe Neil deGrasse Tyson. That's the three. Oh, wow. I didn't realize.
Neil deGrasse Tyson?
I was waiting to see if you were paying attention.
I think he's handsome.
See, look at Lori. I mean, it is one of those things where, when people start doing the thing that they're good at, like talking about the cosmos, that all of a sudden they're like, they become very attractive. I saw Sarah McLachlan perform live. This is at a weird event like 8 years ago. And I was like, fan. It was like, it was fine. 90s, surfacing, all that. And then she started singing. I was like, dear God, that woman is so, like, it just came out of her. It was amazing. So
yeah,
thank you for saying that. I'll be sure to flex in here.
Yeah, let's get some of that ripped.
Support the USO. Support the USO. Do that.
So we've been talking about Community. Let's definitely talk about that, because the waves that you mentioned of a career, Community almost went through it as well. Now, I've seen every episode of that show multiple times. Like, I'm a huge fan of it. And even
thanks a lot, Lori.
I am too. I'm just letting Rob talk.
Okay, sure.
Go ahead, Lori. You can tell
No,
him
we actually get a lot of comments that say Rob doesn't let me talk.
Like, yeah, and then I say,
fuck, Rob, can you let Lori ask a question?
But I say, is that true? She goes, no. Like when she wants to talk, she starts to talk. I don't know what to say.
All right.
No, it's not. He makes me cook in the kitchen all the time.
You guys are married?
No.
Which makes it weirder.
Right, exactly.
Lori, my wife is tired. Come cook for us. Okay.
Kitchen's not going to clean up itself, Lori.
I'm really feeling a Reuben right now. You want to talk to Joel McHale, don't you?
Like that's good. I got to get Reuben. Community.
That's right. So, that show too, first of all, was probably, what news broke a couple of days ago, which kind of seems to happen every few years, but the news broke that Dan Harmon is actually pitching around a Community movie script finally. There was that whole 6 seasons in a movie inside joke for the longest time. Yeah. Is this really the case? Is it really getting to the point where at least there's a script getting shopped around?
No.
Shit.
I don't. You've seen the script. I'd love to see it. He said it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Mm-hmm. So I think within the next 37 years, we'll definitely do a movie. And it's one of those things that I used to joke, because people like 3 years ago would be like, "Is there going to be a movie?" I'd be like, "Yeah, sure, maybe. I don't know." And I was kind of like, "It's never going to happen." But now it is more real than I thought it ever would be. It's not set yet, but it's one of those things where if you want to build an aircraft carrier, you need a lot of different stuff to get it, into the water. And, it's one of those things where, like, I hope it happens. And I don't have news other than like Dan's. I mean, I think hopefully it is an if or a when and not an if.
Yeah, I mean, so
I said nothing. I've just said a lot of words out loud, and now I feel like a Reuben.
But I'm not letting you get off this just yet. Did that come from maybe did any of this spawn from the table read you guys did? Because I know you guys did a table read of the episode where Pierce, the Pierce funeral, you guys did the table read of that. I mean, having everybody together, once you stop, you're all, I assume, still talking and catching up. Did that kind of think maybe got Dan going again? And like, does everyone say, yes, when you do it, we'll be in? Because I got to think he's not shopping things around until he knows he has Winger, and he knows he has all of these characters and the actors ready to play them before he starts doing that.
I mean, the table read was like having a family reunion, and I cried like a baby afterwards. Ask my wife. I wept because I was just like, I miss all those people, and then I blew my nose, farted. It was so cool and wonderful. So that, I would say, I mean, that was such a cool moment, and it was so fun. And Ken and I both cried after we called each other and talked for like an hour. But I think the reason why the show, I don't think necessarily it was the table read. It was because of the popularity of the show or the resurgence of it on the streaming services. Because the show was always a cult hit. It was never a big hit when it was on the network. It was always Modern Family and Glee getting 1,000% of the attention, and then we were like, we're right here, and we barely. The president of NBC at the time would say stuff like, I mean, he said it multiple times, was, can this episode that ends the third season be a season and series finale if necessary? It happened and then we were canceled. So it actually was canceled, and because that president never liked it. So then Netflix, and I know it's on Hulu, and I don't know, 1,000 other. I know it's on Amazon. So it started becoming. I mean, I felt it with going back out and doing stand-up. I was like, wait a minute, there's way more community people out here now than there ever have been.
Yeah.
So that was really surprising and lovely and wonderful. It was great. So and it's still like I just did a show in Snohomish, Washington, and I was like, you guys watch Parks and Rec? And then they start cheering, and I'm like, well, I wasn't on that fucking show. So what are we talking about? Anyway, so it definitely changed during the pandemic. That's a very, very long answer, Lori.
Go ahead, Lori.
Wasn't Lori your mom's name too? So
different spelling.
But same pronunciation.
Same pronunciation, but in my mind, I'm using a U and an A. And an E.
Yeah.
Is there anybody that spells their name Lori, Laurie, anymore?
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot of Loris now.
I think I changed the game.
I think you did. What's your middle name? Is your middle name like Jennifer, but you spell it Jenefer?
It's just Kim, but not even Kimberly.
I like that. I like how some like
it's like North Korean leader, you know? It's very
Yeah, is that who you're named after?
Yes, yeah. Role model in my family.
Yeah, we named our son Edward, but we call him Eddie. And I was like, oh, maybe we should just wrote Eddie on his gift certificate. We have gift certificate.
Is that so?
Certificate is a gift certificate.
Hey, or here's a baby, and here's a $20 Bed Bath and Beyond gift certificate.
It's weird. I realize now it's not legal. It's not a legal document saying that he was born. It looks like he really loaded up on SodaStream canisters. Bed Bath and Beyond. Nuts.
Man. So, I do want to. Everything that probably could have been said about the Chevy thing has been said already. And in some of your responses, you came from an angle where it's like you understood where he was coming from, in the fact that, hey, you were a big star, and he wasn't very happy there, and all the other things that go with it. But was there a moment, because everybody, wants to work with people. And I'm sure when you found out you were working with Chevy before knowing him, you were thrilled about it.
Mm-hmm.
Was there a moment to you specifically where you're like, wow, he's just not what I had hoped? Like, was there any one specific thing, or was it just a long, steady stream? Because you had mentioned you used to bust his chops.
Everything.
Yeah.
Look, we all know what a gigantic star he was, and he literally was the highest paid comedic star of the '80s, even more so than Eddie Murphy. Mm-hmm. And yeah, as you said, it must have been hard when that kind of shifted. But, like Alec Baldwin on 30 Rock, he was given a golden opportunity. And like you said, he didn't want to really be there. The hours were terrible. I will tell you that. But that's how those things work. The hours in Hollywood for movies and some kinds of TV, not the documentary style ones, they are terrible. And so there's that. Was there a moment when he was always pretty volatile? So we never kind of knew like if he was in a good mood or a bad mood. So that was not fun. I think he would probably, if he hears or sees this, I think he would agree that he could be, in not the best moods. And that, again, that's no fun, especially for, when you're there for, as I said, 16 hours, 17 hours a day. So, it became a thing where, he would get shot out. They would shoot his stuff and then he would go and then we would shoot the rest. And so that would, and it would, every time you see him on screen, he's super funny. Yeah. He's Chevy Chase. So the stuff that he got to say, I mean, him in that Dungeons and Dragons episode, he should have won an Emmy for that. And, or the Pierce Hawthorne's, the Wipes episode.
Yeah.
He should, I mean, so that was a long way of saying like, it was this grand opportunity and he ended up leaving after the fourth season. Yeah. And, it could be a pretty chaotic set. And that again, no, I've been on, you can be on sets where it's not chaotic, and that's lovely and wonderful because everybody's working really hard. And whenever I hear people say, Hollywood, you guys just sit around a pool or something, I'm like, we work so much fucking harder than all of you combined. So
right.
It sounds so they literally had to make a law because if you go over a certain amount of time, they have to get you a hotel room nearby because so many different crew members and actors and teamsters were fucking falling asleep and driving off the road and dying. Shit. So that happened. There was such a problem with it that they had to make it a rule. So Thank you. I'm the hardest working man in show business. Crying again.
Well, Joel, I know we don't have tons of time, but I want to thank you again. We've covered 3. I never guessed what the 4th was. What else is launching
the 4th
right now?
Is a bit of a cheat. It's a misdirect because, like in Agatha Christie books, they're like, who's the murderer? Like on the Orient Express, you're like, wait, it was everybody? Sorry, spoilers. But,
it's 100 years old. I think we're okay.
Bear on FX.
What's it called?
The Bear.
Oh, I think I've heard of that. The Bear. Is that new?
Yes, it came out. Well, I guess it came out 2 months ago. I have a very small part, but Chris Storer, who created it and directed all of them, is the boyfriend of Gillian Jacobs. Gillian played Britta, and Chris is he's one of those guys that he's been in Hollywood for quite a while, and he's come close on a lot of stuff, and this is the one. So when I hear people go like, he came out of nowhere, I'm like, he's been working his ass off for years, and this one, you guys finally pulled your head out of your asses, and it's great. It's a great show about chefs.
Oh, that's right. Yes. Now I know exactly which one you mean. Yep. From the guy from Shameless, he was fantastic.
The son,
Yes. Now I know. Yep.
Great, and he's a very good actor and a super nice guy.
Awesome. Very cool. Well,
Lori, what part of New Jersey are you from?
East Brunswick.
All right.
Do you know it?
I've been there because Rutgers is right there, right?
Yeah.
I lived as a kid in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, or Haddonfield, but that's
like Philly, yeah.
I like how people. I'm from Jersey. I'm like, and I'm always like Philadelphia. They're like, that's not Philly. I mean, so that's not Jersey. I was like, all right, well, I don't know what to tell you. It said New Jersey when we drove into it. But okay, that's not it. Fucking Montclair, asshole. So it's great.
Yeah,
wait, are you in the city? Are you in Jersey right now?
I am physically in Manhattan right now. That's where I live. But I did grow up in New Jersey.
And Rob, you're where?
I'm on Long Island. I'm on Long Island, and I grew up in Queens.
Okay. Yeah, you froze there for a second.
Oh, I grew up in Queens, but I live on Long Island, which is no, I wish. I got Montauk money, but it's Nassau, the middle of the island. But you know, I'm sure not
in Great Neck of all places.
I'm not far from Great Neck at all. Yeah,
Great Neck's a pretty town.
Yeah, but that's where I get.
It was like 106, and we were shooting at night, and so it dropped down to like 90, and I was like, "What the fuck?"
Well, great. Joel,
are you in Washington now, Joel? Or are you in LA?
No, I'm in Los Angeles, California. I was in Washington. Wait. Saturday night. No. Yeah.
He just froze.
What's going on?
Oh, there you go. Oh, he's back. You okay?
I think it's because I brought up North Korea.
Yes, they waited quite a while. I thought, because my stand-up special is called Live from Pyongyang, and I was like, maybe they'll come after me, and they were not interested. But the number of people that were like, I can't believe you shot it there. I was like, I didn't.
That's really what people thought. And by the way, yeah, you can also check out that stand-up special. It's very good also. And
Amazon.
Yeah, Amazon Prime. You can check it out at any point. It's only like, 4 or 5 years old. It's not. It's relatively recent, right?
It's relatively recent. I'm still telling those jokes, so I don't care.
People actually thought that you did it in Pyongyang.
Well, it was funny because they would see it and they would be like, it was either I don't know what that is or wow, you shot it there, and I was like, okay, well, whatever.
It's amazing how much the crowd gets of all of those jokes. They get community.
Yeah, I should have just called it. I don't know, your mom or something like that, and then it would have been like, oh, I get that. You're making a mom joke. All right, I'll stop.
Well, for a follow up,
Lori Kim.
Joel, thank you so much for everything. I really appreciate it. And once again, everybody check out Celebrity Beef Tuesdays on E at 10 p.m. Stargirl Wednesdays, 8 o'clock on the CW. Go to joelmchale.com. Get all of his tour dates. Check out his book. We didn't even talk about that. The community movie's going to happen because I'm going to will it into existence. Okay. All of these things are happening. So check it all out.
And Joel, Crime Scene Kitchen on Fox. And New Year's Toast and Roast, everybody.
I didn't think we could be bigger fans, and now we're bigger fans.
Let's do it again, you guys.
You did it. All right. What are you doing tomorrow? Are you free?
Every Wednesday. This will be on your Outlook calendar.
Daily? Oof.
It's not daily. I can barely do it twice a month.
Yeah. Exhausted. All right, you nice people and attractive people from your relative, the East Coast, so it doesn't really count. But
no,
I'm kidding. So thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure, Joel. Thank you so much.
And now I'm going to run to the toilet.
Go ahead. Make a nice one.
What a way to end. All right, you guys.
Bye-bye.
Thank you,
I'll see you.
Bye, Joel.
I'm leaving studio. Bye.
Bye. Thank you for watching The Hole. I am Rob Sprance.
I'm Lori Levine.
Later, motherfuckers.